So the torus is quite good to understand where our planes are, but it's not really good at showing us the orientation apart from horizontal and vertical. So I would like to create an anchor that I'm going to design in the scene editor, and then we will add this anchor on top of the AR anchor. And hopefully this will make sense. So bear with me here. If you click on the ship.scn, so you do a right click and create a new file, and we can call this file anchor. And in here, so we don't need a camera because obviously we have a physical camera. However, we do need to create a new node. So drag this node in here and we can rename this anchor. Okay, so the idea is to create exactly this in the scene editor. So let me just first put this exactly in the center of the scene. Where are we? It's here. Okay, make a bit more space here and remove that. Okay, right, so we will have basically three arrows like this. So it's made of one cylinder and one cone here. So I just moved this a little bit. Okay, so first of all, let's look for a cylinder. I'm going to put it here, more or less. So I'll put this at 0, 0, 0. And so the radius is going to be tiny. I'm going to do 0.005. So that's a 1 centimeter radius. Let's just go a bit. Okay, so as you can see, it's been added, but from its position, which is the middle of the sphere, of the cylinder here. And that's not exactly what we want. So I can make this 0.2, so that's a 20 centimeter high. And here for the Y, I'm going to do 0.1. Okay, so now we've got our cylinder exactly standing pretty much on top of what would be the floor or any flat surface here. Okay, so now that we've got this, let's look for a cone, and I can drag this cone in here. It's going to be very big. And we can drag the cone directly inside of that cylinder here. So make sure you've got the cone selected. I'm going to put this at a 0, 0, 0 position, and I'm going to make it a lot smaller. So here I'm going to do 0.04, so it's 4 centimeter high. And for this radius here, I'm going to be 0.02. I think that's going to be enough. And you can drag this up directly here. It doesn't need to be extremely accurate. That's enough. I think that's good enough for me. So here, one little trick as well is that you can flatten this node, and now you have, instead of a cylinder, let's just call this an arrow. Okay, so now you've got this custom shape that you can use and reuse. So what you can do is to drag it in here directly, and you've got your arrow. Excellent. So let's just drag two more arrows. Where's my first one gone? Ooh, that was interesting. Okay, so I've got my three arrows. One of them is going to be oriented this way, and that's going to be my y-axis. I don't know why everything is moved like that. That's interesting. Okay, so this should be at, let's just do this correctly. So 0 and 0.1 and 0. Okay, so this is our y-axis. And the y-axis is usually green. Okay. and I can delete this second material. That was the material for the cylinder here. So let's remove this, and this material can be called green. Okay, so first one done. The second one here, same. I can remove the second material and call this one, so that would be red for the x-axis. And here I'm going to choose some red. Is that red? I'm a bit colorblind. It might not be red. And I think it's about here, but if I look, it's not at all. Okay, so let's just do this in here directly. Position for the x is going to be 0.1 and then 0 and 0. Okay, so that looks much better. And finally, for this one here, same again, remove this material and call this one blue. And this blue here is going to be oriented this way. Let me just zoom. Select the arc, well, the edge of the arc, and then rotate. So I understand now where I'm going here, that this 90 here is the one I need to adjust. So 0, 0, and for the z it should be a minus 0.1. No, it's a 0.1. Yes, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense. Good. So finally, there's just one tiny little thing. This is my personal touch, but I just want to add a little sphere here like this. Right now it's huge, so let's just make this a lot smaller. In fact, I'm going to do 0.02 and then make sure that it's exactly in the center like that. Okay, so there we go. This is now our anchor. So the sphere has a material, and I'm going to call this white, and you will see why now I've got, so this is y, this is x, and this is z. Okay, so all of these can now be inside of my anchor in here, and same again, I can flatten this node, and you will see that if I go now and inspect, I can see that all the materials are still there. Blue, green, red, and white. Which is great because now I can drag this in here, and I'm going to have my anchor. So let's just actually put a capital letter there. And I can use this now and reuse in any of my projects and put any anchors I want very quickly. So that's a neat little trick. So let's actually do this and call our anchor directly in the center of the torus when we add a torus. So if I go back into the view controller and we go into the renderer, so here we are adding a geometry which is torus, and we can create, so let's call this node, this anchor, so let anchor node equals scn, so that's from the scene that we created, which is called it's called anchor.scn, and I am sure about this, so I'm going to unwrap, and finally we call the root node, and that's pretty much everything we need. Actually, I don't have to go much further and deeper than that, because in the root node we'll just have the anchor there. So that's good enough. Okay, and now we'll just add, so node dot add child node, and here I can just add my anchor node. So let's run. Okay, so when we start to move around, you can see that now we have a better understanding of this position. So you can see how the z-axis is towards me here, and it's not exactly towards me when it's there. And if we look at this one, ooh, I did a couple. No, it knows and just removed one of them. Brilliant. So you can see here how the z-axis is going down, right? And I guess this makes sense. But look, if I now rotate and go and look behind me, if I go and look at this, you can see that the z-axis is now facing the opposite way of me. So this is going to be very useful to understand how ARKit is working, and you can see how this is working really well. We're adding more and more toruses everywhere we look, and the more ARKit analyzes the surroundings, the more anchors we will have in the scene.